Sing for me sweet lullabies. Bright nights of everlasting darksome days. Bright nights and wearing the stain you made on me. And I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait for the bright nights to lead my way through the maze. Every day I'm looking for a way to return to the time when everything was easy to learn. Don't know when it started to get so serious. Building up an illusion of a world full of trust. Moving on when everything's gone. It's hard to be strong. Confusion in my mind. No way to turn back time. My soul in need of remedy. Don't even know the enemy. When I feel out of touch, can't seem to get enough. Hiding away from everyone. I don't know where I'm coming from. It feels like it never happened. Maybe just a dream. Could it be my imagination running out of steam? All I know is every time I see you, I feel insecure. I'm unable to find the words. How can I be sure? I'm holding on when everything's gone. I've gotta be strong. Confusion in my mind. No way to turn back time. My soul in need of remedy. Don't even know the enemy. When I feel out of touch, can't seem to get enough. Hiding away from everyone. I don't know where I'm coming from. I fail to see right in front of me. There's a way I know. Confusion in my mind. No way to turn back time. My soul in need of remedy. Don't even know the enemy. When I feel out of touch, can't seem to get enough. Hiding away from everyone. I don't know where I'm coming from. Confusion in my mind. No way to turn back time. My soul in need of remedy. Can't seem to get enough.
What's up, guys? Oh, okay. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with Sean's mic right now. But what's up, guys? Welcome to Generation Orange. I'm your host, Mark Segovia, alongside my co-host Sean. Whenever he's ready to speak up and speak in.
Yeah.
Good to go. He still might be muted. So
I'm good to go. No, they can hear me now.
Okay, cool. So what's up, Sean? How you doing?
Man, you know, it's another week. It's another week. I'm doing great though because we beat RGV in Open Cup last night, and that's always a great week, right? So I'm doing great.
Yeah, man. Open Cup play, you know, it's a little bit different from MLS standard football, you know, and it was fun. I mean, I was out there yesterday with the guys from the Surge and a couple of friends of mine as well. And man, we had a good time. It was a pretty good little show out from what I expected. You know, I want to say maybe about 600-700 people in the stadium, so it's not too bad for a Tuesday night, especially with the Astros just opening up the homestand and all that stuff going on over there as well. So not a bad showing. Obviously, we'll talk about the RGV Dynamo match here later on, you know. But yeah, man, we had a lot of stuff going on with Dash, Dynamo, Obviously, we know that the Frisco match is coming up, Austin, so rivalry week is coming up as well. A lot of good things happening with the guys in orange. You know, we've managed to keep the unbeaten streak still going. 11 points out of the last 15. 11 out of 15 points in the last 5 games. I'm sorry. But yes, I mean, there's a lot of good things to talk about with the Dynamo. Sean, anything else you want to talk? Do you want to mention before we get into these topics?
No, let's get rolling, buddy.
So, you know, obviously, you know, we want to make sure we get a little bit of Dash news in here, you know, and you know, we always want to show love to the ladies out there, you know, with repping the H. But unfortunately for them, you know, obviously we start off on a bad note. Eliminated from the Challenge Cup tournament out of the group stages. They've only won once, and I think they've lost 4 matches at this current point. I know they still got one more match against Louisville coming up. Sean, I mean, you know, anything you want to add to that? I mean, obviously, I know we kind of expected a little bit more out of the ladies, but, you know, it's a cup, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, obviously the main goal is for them to start off great at the end of the NWSL season and hopefully make the playoffs and do all that stuff. You know, obviously the Challenge Cup would have been a great thing to go to be able to advance into the knockout stages and maybe even lift the cup up again. But, you know, but with that being said, I mean, anything you want to add as far as the Dash goes?
No, I mean, not really. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's, you know, they're ramping into the season at this point, and it's going to be important for Clarkson to get the ship righted very quickly. This is a team that absolutely needs to find form and rhythm, and, you know, the season is not long enough to afford a lot of time to get it right. You're going to have to get it right quickly, and you're going to have to fix what is currently problematic, which is most importantly, you know, the defensive holes. And I just don't see how they do that right out of the gate. But, you know, it's Clarkson. He's proven he can figure it out. He's done it before. He's got to do it again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, obviously in the 5 matches they've played, they've allowed anywhere between 2 to 3 goals per match, you know, and with the Dino and with the Dash offensive not really being up to par, except for the one game they won 3-2 against I think it was KC, if I'm not mistaken, here at home. You know, so yeah, obviously, you know, it's one of those things where it gives Clarkson a little bit of time to go review the tapes, you know, and see what's going on with the defense. His defense leaking right now. I like what Jake said in the chat. You know, obviously he said I'd much rather see the Dash make these mistakes now than during the regular season. And obviously, like I said, look, would it be nice to start off before the season, lift up a Challenge Cup title? Yeah, for sure. But I mean, again and again, you know, it is a new tournament, a new challenge, a new thing for the NWSL. But the main focus, the main objective for the Dash will be the regular season and to make that playoff run. So we'll see what happens with that. And, you know, big up to the ladies, and we'll be keeping up with the Dash season here along with the Dynamo as well. So, but with that being said, Dynamo. Sean, you and me both, that's a miracle. We were both at the match on Saturday against the Timbers, a 0-0 draw. Unfortunately, neither of us predicted that from last week's show. But with that being said, I mean, the unbeaten streak's still alive. I know some of us, even though it was a tie, it didn't feel real good because I think the Dynamo had at least 2 or 3 opportunities to take the lead early on in the match and really put the nail in the coffin on the Timbers early. But what are your thoughts on the match and how you saw it from the supporter section view?
Man, I don't usually focus in on officiating very much, but, you know, honestly, in that match on Saturday in particular, officiating was a major issue. You know, it was even more clear, I think, because a lot of the clear and obvious either fouls or no fouls were very much in front of the supporters or in clear view of the supporters, especially in that first half. And then even into the second half, as things kind of shifted a little bit, you know, the referee, just a lot of the calls he was making were not good calls. They weren't, you know, it was not down the line. It was not a fair officiating of the match. Now, with that being said, it's still on the Dynamo to come out and play and find the goal and, stop goals from going in. And to their credit, they got half of that equation right to at least secure the point. I thought that there were some moments where we definitely should have scored. A couple of Fafa opportunities that just couldn't quite find the back of the net. One in particular where he had that breakaway. I believe it was in the second half. And just couldn't. He got it through the keeper's legs, but it just deflected off the keeper's leg on the way through his thigh, and then just kind of dribbled short of the goal line, and he was able to recover and keep it out of the goal. But outside of those kind of very few opportunities, it was very much a choppy match. And again, I attribute that to the officiating, not just the way that Timbers played, because they were very physical throughout the majority of that match, but just the way that he officiated that match. And then, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up, or I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Teenage Davy second yellow of the match, leading to him being sent off. In what a lot of fans feel like, from the Dynamo perspective, was an extremely soft second yellow. Obviously, supporters were very far away from the action. It was very difficult to get a clean look at it. But to me, at least on first blush, I haven't gone back and looked at the replay of the match yet on TV, but on first blush, it certainly did look a little bit soft. And it wouldn't have been an issue if he hadn't gotten the early yellow for the elbow to the back of the head of the Timbers player in the air. And two, I think Hidabi's credit, I think that first yellow was also soft because there have been plenty of times where we don't see a yellow card issued when a player is going up, and it was clear on replay. Hidabi had no idea that he was going up against the guy initially. It wasn't until he was in the air and already making a move that he realized there was somebody challenging with him on that ball. And to be fair, he had leverage above the player. If the player had jumped higher, it wouldn't have been in the back of his neck. It would have been in his back, and it'd be a completely different situation. But in either situation, once he had that yellow card, he needed to play a little bit less recklessly. And we know Teenage Hidabi is not that type of player. Should I call him Teenage Hideb? Because that's what they were calling him on the USOC stream last night. Teenage Hideb. And it was pissing every single Surge member that was watching at home off to no end to hear him called Hideb constantly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I mean, just to go off of the chat, Sanford says, I'm convinced the ref forgot that he already had a yellow. And sometimes, they're supposed to write the players' names on those cards, to make sure that, they keep in line with what's going on and imagine who has yellows and who doesn't, right? Whether or not we believe the second yellow was soft or not, we're not going to argue that it wasn't a foul. Yes, it was a foul, but at that point of the game, during that time, especially given the context of that foul, I don't know if that's really a yellow card offense foul where you give him that second yellow, especially if he's on a yellow already. Maybe you give it to him if he has no card on him already. But aside from that, I don't think it's calls for to be taken out the game at that point. So, and like a lot of people mentioned on the chat as well, especially George, the ref really killed the game. No real rhythm or flow of the game. It's true. It was a little bit of a shaky performance for the officials out there, for the referee out there on the pitch, and it did really kill the game. It really did kill the flow of the game a little bit. And to just go back to obviously that being one of the main things that kind of killed the game, but it's no excuse for the Dynamo for not scoring on the opportunities that they were given, because they had from up the top of my head at least 2 or 3 really good opportunities to score and really put away the Timbers. I know 2 for sure in the first half that they could have really put the nail in the coffin on the Timbers had they scored those opportunities. But it's one of those things where soccer is a very unforgiving sport, and when you're given opportunities like that to score, usually, and if you don't take advantage of them, usually you get scored on. So I will give credit where credit is due. The defense held their part up of the game, and they managed to keep up the clean sheet and get that 0-0 draw to continue being unbeaten in these last 5 games. So, hats off to those boys. But yeah, man, anything else you want to talk about as far as the Timbers and Dynamo game, Sean?
I don't get how Diego Chara goes through a majority of a match without a yellow. He did eventually get one towards the second half of the second half, but how that guy does not walk away with double yellows in 90% of his matches is astounding to me. He is an extremely physical player who will commit what we would typically call a professional veteran foul, where he's just killing a counterattack. And it seems like the officials don't want to give him a yellow for it, but there were at least 2 or 3 times where our players were given yellows for the exact same thing. And, it's a consistent thing with the Portland Timbers that he just does not get very many yellow cards, considering how physical and how strong, and how well he toes the line. And that's a credit to the player. I think that he has that reputation where he's able to keep on the side of, the referee. But I do have to question that to some extent a little bit, because it just seems like anytime he's out there, you can expect that he's not going to get a card for things that other players on the pitch on the other side of the pitch are getting cards for. And I think Luis says it, and Luis is an FCD fan who, by the way, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, Luis. But he even says he gets so much leeway from the refs. It's been like that for years. I agree with you. It's really fun to see it up close and personal. I think when you're a supporter and you get to be that close to the action and see it visibly and very clearly for what it is. And this match definitely gave that very, very clearly. And even his brother, Gimme Chara, got the yellow card early for something that he certainly should have. But, the fact that Diego didn't have one going into the second half was it was beyond fathomable to me.
Yeah, I mean, and like you mentioned, sometimes the player's reputation can far exceed whatever's going on at the game, and kind of it's one of those things where, hey, man, if you build that type of continuity with the officials and the league, then you're able to get away with certain couple of things. That's why you have some players that are deemed very physical, or just goons per se, because that's the way they play, and officials and the league are kind of aware of the way they play, so they give them a little bit of leeway when it comes to that part. And I think Chara falls under that category. But all in all, I can't be disappointed in the result. Obviously, gathering points is what we need to do. Obviously, right now we're standing 5th place in the standings in the Western Conference, which is obviously a great sight to see. As long as we stay above the playoff line, that's all that we're looking for this season. Obviously we're trying. The Dynamo and the organization and everybody involved are trying to get that playoff that playoff monkey off their back. So, hopefully we can get that done this season and we can enjoy some playoff football here in the future. But with that being said, obviously, MLS is the main primary focus for the Dynamo and things like that. But obviously, there's another little competition that finally came back and came through our ways here in PNC Stadium last night. And that, of course, we're talking about the US Open Cup. Yesterday we played against our little brother or little sister, whichever one you want to call them, RGV Toros. 7:30 start, a 2-1 match, but the Dynamo winning. Late header by our colleague here, Georgie's number 1 player, Sam Junkwa, scoring a late header in the 93rd minute to solidify the win against RGV. Sean, I saw it live. I know you saw it on ESPN Plus. So I guess we can exchange the differences and of how I saw it compared to how you saw it from home. Just overall, the general view of the game. How did you perceive the team? Did you like the lineup from the get-go when you first saw it come out? And obviously, your ratings of players.
Yeah, we said we were going to talk about certain players for most of the show, right? Man, I was frustrated with the lineup only because there was one player in particular that I felt didn't deserve a start in this match. And I think if I'm looking at it, and that was at the time. Now looking back at it, I think I kind of get maybe why Paolo did have this player start in particular, and it was because it was kind of his chance to show that he belongs in the senior team 23, game day 23, even the game day 18, and that was Memo. Look, Memo has struggled in this formation with these tactics. He has not found a rhythm. He is constantly out of position or just lost on the ball, lost away from the ball. His movement off the ball is terrible. He still has a great attitude, and if there's one thing you can say about Memo, he's always gonna have that great attitude. But he was dispossessed in so many places on the pitch. He can't take defenders on, and again, most importantly in this match, this isn't these are USL level players. These are not MLS level players, and if you can't beat USL level defenders on the dribble as a midfielder who's striving to be a true 10, then you don't belong in MLS. You belong in USL. And I know there have been plenty of people both in this show, watching the show, listening to the show, and in the Discord channels and on Twitter that have talked about Memo needing to kind of call it here in terms of, the relationship with the Dynamo. And I think I tend to agree at this point. Like, everything that I've seen from Memo this season so far has not given me hope that he's improving. If anything, he's regressed terribly, and chalk it up to maybe the tactics or the formation or the position or, whatever it is, the coach is asking him to do too much or not enough or whatever. It's just not working. And, the difference is plain when you have players like Darwin Quintero or Coca Carrasquilla come into the match in the exact same position. Obviously, that didn't happen last night, but in other matches this season, either they start and then he comes in as a sub or vice versa. It's just a night and day difference. The flow of the match changes. The quality on the ball changes. The opportunities become more frequent. Players are more confident passing the ball into that area of the pitch, knowing full well that it's, that player's not going to get dispossessed. And I think it was mostly made clear or made more clearer in this particular match because he was basically in the general position area of Brooklyn Reigns, who's a 17-year-old kid. And Brooklyn Reigns' capability to possess the ball, to dribble with the ball, to pass the ball is light years ahead of what Memo showed in this match. And to me, that is the death knell in this guy's coffin of his career. If you cannot be better than a 17-year-old player against USL level players, you don't belong on the pitch. Not just in an MLS match. You don't belong on the pitch in an MLS reserve or next pro match. You belong in USL. And I think it's just time. I think it's time.
Yeah, I mean, I moved around a little bit in the stadium, just to get different views of the match. Obviously I started off in the supporters group, and then I went to the other side where the shell section is at now on the other side of the pitch, and I didn't like what I saw from both sides of the field as far as Memo goes. And I'm not gonna stand here and just hound on Memo for the whole show, which I probably could, but I want to give praises out to the other players as well, especially Brooklyn, like you mentioned earlier, but Memo, yeah, man, every time we saw him get the ball, and look, maybe Wilmer's plan was, when they saw the lineup, then they kind of expected Memo to be that player to be focused on, I guess, because like you said, maybe Paulo was trying to give Memo the opportunity to show that he still belongs, in the match day 23 or the match day 18 and stuff like that. So maybe Wilmer said, hey, I know this player, I know how to defend, to attack this player and to make him look bad, because and he did a great job at that. That was Wilmer's plan to try to defend the Dynamo and their attack, because let's be clear. I mean, Memo as a creator is non-existent. Memo as a winger is terrible. Memo as a holding midfielder is, obviously, you see the guy has no physique. I mean, no physical, has no physicality to him. So I mean, if you can't do either of the three, then where do I put you in my midfield? And it's tough, because like I said, we've all wanted to root for Memo up to a certain point, because obviously he was a homegrown, he's from our background, and like I said, Memo is a great guy personally, I have nothing against him, it's just where the Dynamo are trying to go. and what they're trying to achieve, they need to understand that the level of play and the level of player to this team has risen. And unfortunately for Memo at this moment, it's passing by, man. And it wasn't as much evident as it was yesterday when I was sitting there watching him getting stripped every time he got the ball, losing control once he was trying to pass the ball, making bad passes, just time after time and after time again. The only good play that I saw from Memo was when he was up in the almost into the box and he got fouled right before he did the free kick. But that was about it, man. But if that's the only thing I can remember and everything else was just you losing the ball, losing control, it's not a good showing, man. And unfortunately for Memo, I think, it's one of those things where credit to Paulo and the coaching staff. We wanted Darwin and Coco in place of Serena Memo. They did it. We wanted Pasher in place of Corey Baird, who's another player I'll get to here in a minute. They did it. Look, I'm asking for Palomino. I'm asking for Palomino to take that Memo spot at least. I don't know if you give him the minutes or anything like that. I mean, obviously he's getting all the minutes of Dino Dose, and you want to keep him going in that steady flow of rhythm. And that's probably why he's still on Dino Dose instead of being in the first team. But I need a player. If Memo's going to be that super sub or that spot is going to be available for super sub, I'd rather have Palomino get those 15, 20 minutes on the first team than Memo, because at least I know Palomino can create and can do something with it, can pass and has a flow for the game, instead of just somebody who's going to be running around just trying to defend it. And then when he gets the ball, just pass it off real quick without knowing where he's going to pass, not having no vision, no creativity to what he's trying to do. As Sanford says on this chat, bro, I was gutted Palomino didn't get at least 60 minutes last night. Look, obviously, we know what Palomino's been doing for Dino Dose, and it's an unfortunate thing. I think that was the first thing I was looking for when the starting lineup came up, and to not see him on there, I was disappointed as well. But like Sean said earlier, I think this was the opportunity for Memo to show out that he can still play, and he can still show out to the team and coaching staff. But I think he failed miserably. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with Memo from here on out. Like I said, luckily they won the game, so there'll be another U.S. Open Cup here, a game. I don't know if it'll be here or be somewhere else, but at least there'll be another round for us to kind of see these up and coming players, these Dino Dose players, and to see the fringe first team players continue to get minutes. But yeah, man, it's a disappointing showing from Memo, and Memo wasn't the only one. Corey Bird.
Can I say one more thing real quick, because you brought it up, and I just want to say this to close out the Memo hate fest, I guess. I wouldn't call it that. You brought up the point about how he's not physical. I think you can't become more. The evidence is there. You look at how non-physical he is. When he is physically defended, he is just a complete complete lack of use of space. And when you see him compared to Brooklyn Reigns is sitting there against multiple guys, and he's just riding challenges like they're nothing. Memo takes a challenge and he's flopping to the ground like he's a damn fish. And getting dispossessed in the process. So, I mean, it's time. And I'll end it with that. It's just time.
Yeah. And just to go with what people are saying in the chat, Finn says Memo would immediately be the best player on RGB, which may be the case. Memo did a lot of great things under Wilmer, but like I said, again, Memo was covered up by players like Quintero, Mauro Manotes, Albert Lees, just like he's covered up by players like Darwin Quintero here, Fafa Pico, and all that stuff. So it's one of those things where when you have a defense focusing on other players, you can look great. But when you have a team like RGV focusing on Memo, because he was supposed to be the key creative player for that game, he showed that he can't be the man. So it's a sad thing for us, as the Memo era here in Houston might be coming a little bit closer to the end than what we expected. But obviously he's not the only one who kind of dropped the ball last night against RGV. Another one, one of the wingers who we kind of spent a little bit of money to get here last season, Corey Baird. Obviously, we know he just lost his starting position to Tyler Pasher the last couple of weeks. And for all reasons why. I mean, he had a beautiful pass from Thor right in front of the net and skies it over the goal line, man. I have no idea how you miss a open shot like that right before he gets subbed off for Tyler Pasher. He was non-existent. I mean, he had a shot on goal early in the game, and then after that was it up until he missed a shot in the second half where Thor laid it out right there, just gave it to him, open net, and he still missed it. Sean, obviously, I know the Dynamo brought him in last year, from LAFC. He's had a couple of moments up with the U.S. national team, but realistically, man, like I mentioned with Memo, this year's Dynamo, the quality of player has risen on average, and Corey Baird is not showing out, man. I don't know if it's still lingering from the injury he had last season or what's going on, or if he's just not confident. But I mean, Corey Baird is not the Corey Baird I remember.
I mean, I think some of it is you're talking a different level of service, at least, in this U.S. Open Cup match. I felt like he's not really, because he's not a focal point, and Fafa's become a focal point. It's a little bit different in that regards. But I also think, it's very clear that Pasher is reaching that level again, and I think if Pasher doesn't get injured last year, Corey Baird is not an issue. He's not even a player. I think it was, Pasher getting injured is what really elevated Corey Baird to being the starter. And over there, because he, really when Corey was here initially brought in, he was meant to be he was the backup for Maxi Urruti. He wasn't brought in as a winger. He was brought in as a true striker. And in that position, I think you're talking a completely different situation. Well, this offseason, we went and drafted Thor. We signed Sebas Ferreira. We have forwards right now, and we have strikers. We don't need him there. So now they've put him back out wide. And it's just very clear when he's out wide that is not his most comfortable position. And I think what they're asking him to do in that position tactically does not play to his strengths. He is much more of a holding striker. He's not a guy who's going to beat you off the dribble. He's not a guy that's going to take you one-on-one on the dribble. He needs passes into space so that he can create opportunities from that. But outside of that, that's kind of his skill set. Don't expect a whole lot more. And, I think some of that the miss last night is kind of similar to the Sebas misses we've seen over the last number of weeks. Some of them have been sitters in front of goal, and they've been just as bad. The difference was this was in a 0-0 match or a 1-1 match where we really could have used that goal to make it a two-goal lead, or 2-goal lead at the time. It would have been a 1-goal lead because we were still tied. But even with that being said, I think I do agree with you. The level of competition has increased. The quality of player has increased. The quality of talent has increased. And it's very clear that it's time, for other options. We got to see Beto, in this U.S. Open Cup match, though not as many minutes as I would have liked to see. And we got to see Avila, and I really like what we saw from Avila. And I would not be opposed to giving him maybe not starting minutes, but I think he could be a worthwhile quality backup to Tyler Pasher on the senior team at this point.
Yeah, obviously, Beto, obviously assisting on the game winning header to Junko, obviously showcased what he can do in the very limited amount of time that he was given. But obviously, whatever opportunity you're given, you take it you grab the bull by the horns and you take it and run with it, and that's what that kid did. Obviously, on top of what he's doing with the Dino Dos at the moment as well. But let's talk about something else, man. Obviously, and they're talking about it, Chad, and I wanted to bring it up as well. The Brazilian connection up on the right side. Obviously Seca getting the start, and Thiago getting the start after he just came off with the Dino Dos this past weekend with the Timbers. The Brazilian connection, a little shaky. Obviously it's the first game for Thiago and things like that. And Seca, he finally got to start and get some start minutes or whatever. Still trying to get that conditioning in or whatever. Your thoughts on both Seca and Thiago from last night from the viewership of the television.
Yeah, Seca, real deal. Guy looks phenomenal, especially in the first half. I think he started to tire probably around the 50th, 60th minute or so, and you definitely saw that in some of the runs he was making. But in that first half, he showed you he is lively, he's explosive. He can get in a good cross. He can get in good passes. He likes to cut in, but he can also beat players on the ball. The guy's incredible, honestly. I loved watching him cut inside and then run halfway across the pitch, creating opportunities for the other guys in front of him. My big concern on that side of the pitch, though, was Tiago, or Tiago, if you will. The kid doesn't look like he's ready for MLS play. I mean, again, these are USL players, and he was struggling. He had moments, don't get me wrong, but there was nothing in his game that, screamed to me, this is a player that is ready for MLS, or even this is a player that's ready for sub minutes in MLS. Tiago is definitely a player to keep at Dynados, until the end of their season, and then maybe you give him a few sparing sub minutes here and there at the end of the Dynamo season, whenever that may be. But yeah, right now, Tiago, not an MLS player. Seka, to me, he looks match ready and match fit. I'd love to see him get some starting minutes with Dynamo, because I'm kind of over Griffin Dorsey. And that's not to say I don't like Griffin Dorsey. I just think that Seka on the ball is a better player than Griffin Dorsey is. Although I think Griffin Dorsey may ultimately be a better player athletically, Seka is the better player for this system and this tactical approach that we want to play with, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned it last week's show about Griffin Dorsey. Love the kid's attitude about the situation. Obviously, he's a midfielder / winger, whatever, playing a right back right now because of the unfortunate situation we were at, where we didn't have a proper right back to start off with. So he's doing what he can with whatever opportunity the coach gives him. So hats off to Griffin, for doing his thing, or whatever we're trying to do his thing, playing out of position like that. But Seka for me, I think, once he gets the communication levels down, and he's more comfortable communicating with his teammates, he's just gonna grow from here on out, man. And I think it's going to be really, really good to finally solidify that back four with Seka, Teenage Parker, and Lundy on the other side, obviously, right? So that's going to be great to see throughout the season. Thiago, like you mentioned, obviously it being his second game, barely coming on, he's still trying to get match fit as well. I wasn't really expecting too much. I did see a little bit of a flare here and there, So, but like I said, maybe he plays another month at Dynados to get match fit, to get the minutes and hopefully get in rhythm. And then, depending on what's going on with those backup winger minutes behind Pasher and Fafa, if Corey Baird still ain't doing the thing, then maybe you bring him up. But I think that's the whole point of this U22 initiative, when and how we signed them, is to kind of bring up the player slowly and let him get accustomed to the situation and let him grow as far as, the chemistry on the pitch and all that good stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. But I like what I see from Seka. I hope Thiago can follow suit and and can show out, and we can have a little bit of Jogo Bonito here in H-Town. But with that being said, dude, Beto Avila, you spoke about him earlier. Obviously came in the last 10 minutes. Did whatever he could. And then obviously made the cross that ultimately landed on Junqua's head and ended up in goal for the Dynamo to win 2-1 at the 93rd minute. This kid has been tearing it up for Dynados. I know Thor is the backup forward for right now behind Sebas. I know Thor is out there working hard. I know Thor is out there, trying to do the damn thing. I know he had a little bit of a shouting match with Memo on the pitch yesterday, which was good to see because, I think Thor was frustrated with what Memo was trying to do out there and his inability to give him a good pass to go and attack, which I completely understand. Look, Thor has been given starter minutes, and I'm pretty sure he's going to continue to get starting minutes as far as we go into this U.S. Open competition, right? And he's trying to make the best of it. We all want to see that Thor goal. We all want to see that monkey off his back. We all want a thunderclap, for the Icelandic legend out there, and you could see it in the way he played that he wanted to score this goal. But unfortunately for him, he didn't have the right players behind him to feed him the ball. But at this moment, I mean, do you think Beto might be the better option to back up Ferreira, to back up Sebas than Thor? I mean, because Beto is a leading goal scorer in MLS Next competition. Obviously, you see what he did in the last minutes of the U.S. Open Cup game here. What do you think?
Absolutely not. I mean, he did what he did against USL competition. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not get quite so hyped about a player who's coming out and didn't kill it. He had 2 or 3 good moments in his 10 minutes that he was on the pitch, right? So I get it, but I don't think he's ready for MLS play. And players like Palomino and Castilla, I think, are kind of in that same boat at the moment. But by the end of the season, I think they will be. So here's the thing. I don't think there's...
Hold on, Sean, before you go on. But do you think it might build Thor's confidence to go into Dino Dos, maybe start scoring some goals and start seeing the ball hit the back of the net a little bit,
I mean, I would throw Sebas down there before I throw Thor down there right now, to be honest. I feel like Sebas is the bigger question mark, right? More minutes, only has 2 goals to his name, plenty more chances than Thor's had. And yet he still, struggled in the match against Portland, and there were multiple opportunities. He just couldn't find it. I think there's something to be said for gaining confidence. And I would like to see, I think maybe both of them at some point make a trip down to Dynados. But my big thing was with Beto is I don't think he's really in USL again, or in MLS Next Pro. You're not playing against MLS players or MLS defenders. You can be that type of striker that we want to play with in that league. I think he still needs to grow a little bit. He still needs to gain a little bit of that physicality, a little bit of that kind of quality on the ball before he can be that true guy, that we even bring in sub minutes. And I think you also have to be careful not to interrupt a player's, rhythm. You don't want to bring a player into MLS who's on an absolute tear in MLS Next Pro and then turn around in 3 or 4 matches and you're sending him back and he's lost that rhythm that he had. He lost that confidence he had. Look, if he's on fire, let him stay on fire for a little longer. We don't need him right now at the MLS level, and I think that is a benefit. Let the kid really get going. I mean, yeah, he's the best scorer right now, and they're 6 weeks or 5 weeks into their season, or 6 weeks into their season. So it's 5 actually. So I think to some extent, give him a little more time. Let's see if he can continue to ride it. If at week 10 or week 11 we're still in the same boat and he's still tearing it up, then yeah, hey, why not give him a few starts up here, or not starts, but a few opportunities. But I just think we have to be real careful. There's going to be more Open Cup. There's going to be other, international competition level matches that we're going to get to participate in, is my guess. Before the season's done, he's going to get opportunities, and the more that he can show out in those opportunities, the more likely we're going to see Paulo give him chances to take time with the senior team. We got to remember, this is not like it used to be, where we're talking about RGV, where the players weren't practicing together. MLS Next Pro and MLS senior teams are practicing together. Paulo knows what he has in each and every player because they're playing against each other. It isn't like Paulo has no idea what's going on at the with the MLS Next Pro team. He's been out to some of those matches. He's taken in a lot of their practices, all their practices, and he gets to see those players on a daily basis. He knows what they can bring. And if Kenny Bundy is seeing that, yeah, these 3 or 4 players, they need an opportunity or they deserve an opportunity, it's going to come. But I think we have to be very careful not to do it too early and completely destroy whatever they've built up so far.
No, I mean, and generally, I agree with what you're saying, Sean. But as if I put myself in Beto's shoes, right, and if you're that player trying to move up the ladder and things of that nature, you're checking off the boxes. That's all I'm saying. As far as him being coached under Paulo this yesterday, obviously participating as a Dynamo player, he checked off a box. He was out there. He was attacking. He was crossing the ball well. He got the assist on the game-winning goal. So check. He looks good on that. leading scorer in MLS Next after five weeks. Check. He's checking off the boxes that Paulo needs. That he needs to check off for to get Paulo's attention, and hopefully gets an opportunity here later on in MLS season. But we'll see. But with that being said, I mean, obviously,
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Go ahead.
So I stayed for the Dynados match, and I think this is important. Beto didn't start in that match. Who started in that match was Papa Ndoye. Papa Ndoye had 2 goals in that match. So did Palomino. Why I bring that up is, as good as Beto has been, I think Papa Ndoye is just as good. And the reason I bring that up is to point out the fact that we have to be very careful. I'm going to come back to this. We have to be very careful not to overinflate the value of those numbers in MLS Next Pro. Beto may be tearing it up, but if Papa Ndoye can slot into the same position and be just as prolific, which so far every time he's played he has been, then that tells me that position in this system, in that formation, with the right player can be just as effective. We have to be careful that when moving him to the MLS squad, we're not going to wreck whatever has been built up. That's what I'm trying to say, and I think that kind of highlights that a little bit.
No. Like I said, I generally agree with you. I just wanted to throw out the topic out there just to see what people thought about it, because it's one of those things where as a coach you got to look at the whole spectrum of things, right? And especially now that you have your quote unquote B team, right, playing and training with your A team, right? And you have to look, especially this season, with what you're trying to do as far as make the playoffs for the Dynamo and things of that nature, that you're trying to put the best team possible on the pitch, trying to have the best players available for you for match day, for whatever situation might occur on that game. And with these young cats just doing what they're doing at MLS Next, it's just intriguing to see, how much they're actually doing. Because when RGV was our affiliate club, we never really paid attention to them or the players that they had going. We only paid attention when a player was playing over there because of he's coming back from injury or whatever, this and that. But we never really focused on anybody over there as far as like who can come up from RGV to come over here, because like you said, it was so far away. I was from the get-go against the RGV partnership, but it is what it is, right? I think they finally got it right with this MLS Next thing, and to see these players and to be able to go watch the matches personally, as far as whether it's at Aveva Stadium or PNC Stadium, it's good because now you get to see the future of the Dynamo. Hopefully, we'll see, and you see and you get a lot of excitement not only with what's going on in the first team, but what's up and coming for the Dynamo, hopefully. But yeah, shout out Big Papa, King Papa, Nadoyo, obviously Palomino, Beto, and Andres Gintu was another forward that we didn't mention. A 15-year-old kid that's out there, killing it for the Dynamo as well. So a lot of love for the kids, a lot of love for the Dynados. But yeah. 2-1 victory over RGV. It was great to see. Funny thing. Let me tell you a little funny story about when I was in the stadium, Sean. So I wanted to see I moved around from the support section onto the other side, like I mentioned earlier, because I wanted to see the Dynamo score a goal, right? So I was walking around. Unfortunately, that walk is not quick. I heard that, obviously that there was an own goal on for that, and in my mind, I'm like, dude, do not tell me Valentin scored his own goal on us in the US Open Cup. That's the first thing that came into mind, man. I was just so like, oh. But regardless of own goal, it's never good. It's never good. And I was, when I heard it was teenage, I had a little bit of sigh of relief because, I know Valentin's a good guy. He does great things out there for us, for the community, but these own goals are just, they follow him wherever he goes, man. It's not cool. It's not good. But man, but at the end of the day, the Dynamo won. They move on to the next round, which I think is the 4th round of the US Open Cup, and we'll wait to see who we match up against next. I think the next round is in 2 or 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look at the calendar, but it'll be interesting to see. Sean, anything else about the US Open Cup before we move on?
Yeah, I definitely want to echo the sentiment. I thought Valentin actually played a very standout match at center back. I thought he had a lot of good moments, a lot of good passes forward. There were a couple in particular that I can think of that did fall to the wingers, and they just weren't able to do anything with it. But another player who came on in a sub, role, and I thought played pretty well, was Tyler Pasher. But again, you can see the effect that injury has had on him. He just doesn't have the same burst and the same explosiveness that he had before. And I definitely think there is some of that confidence that's been, broken in him a little bit. And once he does kind of find a consistent form, he's going to be a terror again.
But good thing you brought up Patrick, because I forgot to mention, when he came in, you could see the flow of the game change. Like, he came in there with a purpose. He went out there and he went in there with determination to make something happen, create. And you can see that even though he's still, trying to build up his physique, whatever, and still trying to get into his flow of rhythm and trying to get into game shape, he was out there just, outrunning these guys. He showed that he is above USL, standards or whatever, or whatever level that was playing yesterday. So, shout out to Pasher, man. I think Pasher, he's one of those players that always become like kind of a cult hero during a time period of a team or club or whatever. So I think he's gonna be that one of those guys for us here, especially if the Dynamo start winning and become playoff, and he starts scoring some really important goals here for us along the season. But yeah, with that being said, man, if we're all done with US Open Cup, let's talk about what's coming up for the Dynamo. Rivalry week, FC Frisco, Tree FC coming up. But before we get to that, let's get to the poll question of the day. So back-to-back matches versus the other teams in Texas, we won't name them. The Dynamo, how many points do you expect the Dynamo to gain? Let us know your predictions in the comments. Sean, I'll bounce this off to you. Obviously, the options were 0 to 1 point, 2 to 4 points, or 6 points. Let me give you the results of that poll real quick.
Oh, do you want me to do you want to give my answer and your answer first before you give the results?
Sure. Let's give the results and then we'll give out what we think.
All right.
So with 50% of the votes, it's people believe that's 2 to 4 points, which means 2 ties, a win and a tie. So one of those two. Coming in second, 45%, which wasn't too far off. People believe we're gonna win both matches, 6 points. There's no doubt about it. And then obviously some Frisco fan or Tree FC fan got on here and voted for 0 to 1 point. So it's 5% of those guys thinking that we're gonna get no points, or maybe we'll tie one of those games. So with that being said, Sean, what are your thoughts? What do you think's gonna happen? Where are you leaning?
I think we walk away with 4 points in the 2 matches total. I think we draw in Frisco, and I think we win here at home against Austin.
Georgie on the chat says 3-1 Dallas dub. For those who don't know, we will be traveling up to Frisco here this Saturday.
He corrected himself. He said Dynamo dub.
We will be up there in Frisco, up in enemy territory here Saturday. We'll try to get some video footage of that, for next week's show, or however we can do that. Sean will be, out there with the camera, recording, doing whatever he does,
the camera, just so everybody knows.
Z camera. So, that should be a fun time. It was fun last year, so it should be another fun time. But yeah, Kyle says 6 points or bust. Evelyn says 4, but my heart says 6. I'm with you right there. Georgie says 1-0 dub at Austin. But actually, they're playing here.
Yeah, we're here in Houston, buddy.
Yeah. Callow, what's up, Callow? Callow says, I'll take a draw away. And Ravi says, yeah, I will be traveling by car. Well, we'll see you over there. G Money says 4, but 4 what? 4 points. I'm guessing that's what he's referring to. Man, I'm gonna be optimist. Oh, do you want to give your points, your scores?
My scores. So I think the Frisco game is gonna be a 1-1 draw. I want to say 0-0, but I think Frisco are better than that offensively, and I think we are too. And I think that the Austin match is going to be a 3-1 drubbing by the Dynamo.
Okay. Ex Primo says 4 points. Georgie says at home easy 2-0. Ex Primo says revenge on Tree FC. G Money says blowout versus Austin. So But look, man, I'm gonna be optimistic, man. Like I said, look, if the Dynamo are gonna take that next step, that means when it comes to these derbies, we have to put our necks under throats, and we have to take advantage and show them who's boss, and show them who rules Texas and who's king of Texas. And obviously, we all know that kings of Texas wear orange, and that's the Dynamo. I'm gonna say we're gonna go up there, Frisco. We're gonna get a 3-2 win on Frisco FC. I do believe both clubs are better offensively. As much as it pains me to give props to Frisco, their attack is a little bit improved from last season. With the addition of Velasco, the Argentine, and obviously Ferreira's having a good start to the season as well. But I think with what Fafa and Sebas and Pasha are doing, with Darwin being as hot as he is right now, I think it's going to be a nice scoring matchup, a 3-2 matchup for the win for the Dynamo at Frisco SC, so that way we can come back drunk off our asses, enjoying that victory on the bus. And for Austin's going to be a 2-0 win. We're going to clean sheet them. Have no problems with the Tree FC. It is 420. I wish we'd have played Austin today, so that way we could have smoked them. But it is what it is. So I'm going 6 points, man. I'm going 6 points or bust, just like I believe Sanford said earlier. But yeah, man, 6 points. Sean's going 4 points. I'm going 6 points. We'll see who's right next time when we come back in, as far as what happens in the Frisco match. But yeah, man, Sean, obviously we're going up to Frisco. Are you excited about this trip? Are you excited to see what happens up there?
Heck yeah. I honestly, I'm very, very, very believing that a draw is the worst result that we're going to take away from Frisco. But I still, head and heart both are leaning towards a draw, only because and Luis has made some good points. Frisco have not given up more than they've given up 4 goals over the last 7 total matches. It's not a place you go into and just score willy-nilly against that team, although, they've also had that streak kind of before, and we scored 5 on them. So there's that. But it's also an away match. Historically, we struggle with away matches. Sure, we've got our first away win of the season already, but, it's still going to be a tough go of it. Thankfully, all of our senior team players that are available or should be available should be fully rested. None of them played except for Seca and Pasher, I guess. It's going to be interesting to see how that match goes. And then I think the other side of things is that, Luis called it out. We haven't actually won in Frisco in 5 or 6 or 7 years. I don't remember the exact time frame, but it's been kind of ridiculous. Now the kind of cool thing with that is if we do win in Frisco, Frisco have not won an away match since August of last year. So the chances of taking El Capitan at that point are very, very high. So you have to think that Paulo is going to have the guys ready to go against Frisco. And he understands the true heart of what a rivalry match is all about. And what it takes to win rivalry matches. If there's any coach in this league that really understands that, in my opinion, it's him. And also Pat, Onstad, the GM, has a very firm understanding of what it means to face Frisco. So both of these players, or both of these coaches / senior staff, are going to have these players ready to go. And I just think this is a different Dynamo team. And I hope that Frisco don't take them lightly, because if Frisco take them lightly, it could be a very long afternoon in Frisco for the Frisco fans.
No, I hope Frisco take them lightly, so that way they can prove them and show them up, and maybe really beat them at their house, But regardless of the fact, regardless if it's a 4-0 win by the Dynamo, or a 3-2 or a 1-0 win, and if the Dynamo come out with a win, I think it's gonna propel the team into larger and bigger things, and just gonna motivate them more to keep going. Again, you'll be extending the unbeaten streak to 6 games. You're collecting points. You're moving up the table in the Western Conference. Obviously, you move past Frisco and the standings if you win. So I mean, it's a lot of things that you're going up for in this match. So a lot of motivation for these guys, and I know they want to go out there and show out. And plus, I think there's going to be a huge showing of orange in Frisco. So it's going to be a good game, and hopefully we get some badass weather up there. And and it's a great time. I know it's going to be a great time going up, and hopefully it's a great time coming back. So.
Well, it's about that time, Mark, to welcome a special guest. Once again, we're trying to kind of keep consistent with the guests week in and week out when possible. So we are going to have none other than, hold on, let me switch to the multi-view. There we go. That's not the multi-view that I want. Well, I'm going to be messing with things here in a minute. So anyways, Colin is joining us right now from Keeping Tabs. Oh boy, I'm struggling today.
Yes, you are. We got to switch the captions on there. You kept it from last time, from when Andres was here. I believe it still
there
says
we go.
that.
No, it fixed itself. There we go. Yeah,
Okay,
I gotta fix the caption though. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it though. Hold on. Yeah, look at that. See, I was ready with that caption. I had you, Colin. I had you covered, buddy.
What's up, Colin? How you doing, man?
Yo, what's up, my bros? How y'all up to? What are y'all up to?
Man, Dynamo talk and all that stuff, talking about all the good stuff that's going on with the Orange right now. Good to see you back, man. Good to see that you're joining us again. Sean, anything you want to say to Colin before we get into this?
What are you wearing, Colin?
I'm wearing a tie-dye hoodie.
All right. It was difficult to tell.
For the podcast.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But from the angle you were at, all I could see was basically the hood of the hoodie and nothing further. And it just was really odd looking at that point, especially with the headphones on over the top.
Hey, it's a vibe, my man. It's a vibe.
Very Californian of you, Colin. What's up, Colin?
Today is a special holiday,
Yeah, you're right, man. But we appreciate you taking time to come join us on Generation Orange, man. But yeah, man, did you watch the RGV match yesterday? Well, I mean, I know it's a rhetorical question, but
Oh man, of course I watched it. Yeah, man, it was had me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I feel like I shouldn't be on the edge of my seat the whole time, but I was, and we got the win. That's what's most important, but.
Obviously.
I feel like the main objective for Nagamura was to put a lineup out there to get guys experience. And whether he said that to the press conference or not, I know he was saying the main goal was to win, but I feel like he really wanted to get guys like Brooklyn Reigns experience and guys like Sam Junkwell that hasn't appeared much, get him out there. But, winning was obviously in his mind, and we got the win, and we got guys experience. So it's a double win.
Yeah, man,
it was a back and forth game.
Yeah, for sure. These competitions.
Yeah, it was
competition is time for it gets time for those players who don't get that much opportunity in MLS play to get some minutes and get some get a troll out there. But hey, man, before we move on with everything else, man, I forgot to give a shout out to Michael Nelson for stopping that penalty kick, man. Shout out to Michael Nelson, this is our backup goalkeeper, man. He did the damn thing, because otherwise we would probably be 2-2 and go into extra time, and who knows what happens there after that. But yeah, Colin. So
he's shown.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying Michael Nelson. I was going off of what you were saying. I mean, he's shown to be such a capable backup goalkeeper, if nothing else. Like that can start games here and there. I mean, he's a very, very decent goalkeeper, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's capable. But yeah, man, I mean, obviously, I know a lot of praises for Brooklyn Reigns, yesterday's match and things like that. Obviously, Beto Avila with the few minutes that he got off the bench, assisting to Sam Junkwell, man. What do you think about those two guys coming out and taking the bull by the horns and taking full advantage of the opportunity that Paulo gave them last night?
Do you need a minute, Colin? Do we need to?
It was a very. No. My mom came in my door and it's good. No. Brooklyn Reigns. Wow, he was. I forget who said this, but someone related him to Gianluca Busio of Sporting KC. Like he could be our Gianluca Busio, and I could see the comparison. I mean, he was so comfortable on the ball. He was making moves in our defense to get the ball up. He was progressing the ball forward. I mean, in my opinion, like, I'd rather see him out there than Darwin Sarin in the first team. And who else did you ask about, Mark? I forgot.
And obviously Beto Villa, coming in for the last 10 minutes and obviously giving the key cross to Sam Junko to win the game. What he took opportunity, even though he was given so few minutes, but I mean, he grabbed the bull by the horns and took advantage of his opportunity that Paulo gave him. What do you think about him?
Well, anyone that's been watching Dynamo Dos this season has been aware of his obviously contributions and obviously hat trick. Can't forget about that. And I was really looking at him specifically coming into this match. And he brought a different energy to the pitch. He wanted the ball at his feet. He was trying to make plays, and it was nice to see Marcelo Palomino and Beto Avila link up for the goal to Sam Junko. And you know what? Hats off to Sam Junko. You gave praise to Michael Nelson. I give praise to Sam Junko. Hey, yeah. Hats off.
The thing about Sam Junko is that he does have the height and he does use it when he's given the opportunity. Unfortunately for him, obviously he plays a position where that position is kind of a little bit solidified with Lundy and the MLS first team, whatever. But we'll see. Maybe it gives him the opportunity to get a couple minutes off of Lundy. Obviously Lundy isn't prone to getting yellow cards and then obviously being suspended for a game if it gets enough yellow cards during the season. So Junko might have an opportunity here pretty soon, to come to play on the first team. So it's good to see that he's out there still training and doing the thing. But let's talk MLS. Obviously Saturday they played against Timber. It was 0-0 tie. Some people were a little bit frustrated with the 0-0 tie, even though they still get a point, because obviously the Dynamo had a couple of chances early on to kind of put the nail in the coffin and score. Your thoughts on that game against the Timbers?
Well, I know we saw early on Fafa with the missed chance, and that's sort of how his career has been going down here at the Dynamo. He could have scored twice as many goals that he did last year if he just could put away chances. I mean, for every goal he scores, he misses a chance at least. It's 50-50. And that's just very unclinical. And I was mad because we're facing a Portland team that went to the MLS Cup last year, but they're also struggling early on. I mean, they're not a great team. They're below us in the standings, and they have one extra game on us. I think that we should have really gotten all 3 points. And I'm disappointed in the team. Not in the team, but I'm disappointed in the result for sure. I mean, the performance, I was pretty okay with the performance. And, obviously nearing the 75th minute when Hadipi got the second yellow, which we can go on and on about this, but it was not a yellow card, not a second yellow card, not a red card. It was not a sending off moment. But given the circumstances and given the context that we were down a man and knowing that the old Dynamo blow that game 90% of the time, I'll take a draw. I'll take a 0-0 draw, but we really should have put the game away early. We really should have been up 2-0 at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because we're expecting more, especially from what we've seen. Like me and Sean mentioned earlier on in the podcast that, I think the level of quality of player on the Dynamo squad has risen this year. Thus, I feel that, we should be able to gather more points on situations like as opposed to seasons past where we would drop those ties and make them losses or drop those wins and make them ties. I think it's vice versa now. Those ties should be turning into wins and those losses should be turning into ties, with the squad that we currently have. And, I think it's a missed opportunity for the Dynamo to really put a stamp on the standings as far as, being top 3 at the moment if they would have got that win against the Timbers. But like I said, we keep the unbeaten streak. We gather a point. We're still top 5 in the Western Conference, still in the playoff hunt. But obviously the next 2 games are very, very, very important, not just for standings purposes and playoff pushes, but obviously the 2 teams that we're playing against, back-to-back derbies against Frisco and Tree FC. Colin, before I ask you your predictions, though, are you going to Frisco?
I will not be going. I unfortunately work, but okay. I always find a way to watch the game at work. So if you're not, I will be watching, but I will not be able to attend.
Oh man, that's too bad. But
it is. But I'll be there July 9th, though.
You'll be there in spirit too. So, so what are your thoughts for Frisco this Saturday?
Well, you mentioned the two derbies we have, and those are two teams that are both having spectacular seasons. Take nothing away from it. They're ahead. They're both ahead of us in the standings, and they're both on fire right now. I mean, Alan Velasco has been absolutely tearing it up. Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferrer for Dallas, all three have been linking up for a lot of goals. I mean, they've been a decent team. I mean, as much as I hate Dallas and as much as I want to, take a poop on them, we have to be realistic. I mean, they're a decent team this year, and their big signing, Alan Velasco, is showing up. It's going to be a tough game, right? I mean, it's going to be a hard game to decide. It also depends on what kind of lineup we put out there. I mean, Darwin Quintero, he's a player that will have a stretch of 5 good games where he's good, and then have a stretch of games where he's not so good. That's how it's been ever since he came to the Dynamo. And I think we're in that stretch where he's just sort of slowed down a little bit, and he's, to his credit, he's like in his better age of 30s, I mean, he's going to do this. He's going to slow down like this. And you're asking for a prediction, or you're asking for
a prediction? Sean went with a 1-1 tie. I went with a 3-2 Dynamo win. What are you thought? What are your thoughts on Frisco?
I think it's going to be. I like Sean's answer. I'm going to go 1-1 draw, and I think honestly, as much as I love my Dynamo, right? I'm a diehard Dynamo supporter. That's my main team. I think I'm being a little generous, giving them points away from home at Dallas. I mean, Dallas is not historically an easy place to go and get points at, and they're doing great this season. And historically, we are bad on the road. But I will.
It's like I was telling Sean earlier. The reason my scoreline is a 3-2 scoreline is because I think it's going to be a very offensive game. Like you mentioned, with the addition of Velasco and Arriola, and obviously with the form that they're playing at right now, they're obviously a very offensive-minded team. But I got to give credit where credit's due for the Dynamo as well. They've had their opportunities as well. They're scoring goals. They obviously, this last match against the Timbers, they had a lot of opportunities, a lot of breakaways. They just didn't capitalize and put the ball in the back of the net. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that they can't do the same thing against Frisco and this time actually put the ball in the back of the net. I think it's going to be a real back and forth type of game, which I'm really excited to see, because that's the best type of soccer when it's a boxing match, like the Liverpool Man City game from last week. When one's going against the other and just going back and forth. That's the type of soccer that we as fans really crave and love to see, going back and forth. I'm right there with you, man. Obviously, to not try to give Frisco too much credit, but I mean their team is obviously a lot better improved, especially with the addition of Alan Velasco from Argentina. But I think the Dynamo are up to par, and I think they're going to go up there motivated, especially with what this match means to them as far as standings in the match, and obviously it being a derby. Sean, anything you want to add as far as the Frisco match that you didn't mention earlier?
I will say that last season we didn't lose in Frisco. I don't think we've actually lost in Frisco in 2 seasons now. We do tend to draw in Frisco, so keep that, I think, in mind with the predictions. But I think Colin definitely hit the nail on the head. Frisco's a much better team than they've been in years past, and they're very, very good at what they're doing right now. They've had a few shaky moments here and there, but I think what that staff have done with what they have, it shows a lot. But there's definitely opportunities to exploit what they have and their weaknesses, and it's going to require the best of Paolo, and it's going to require the best of the Dynamo players to go in and secure a draw or even potentially get a win. For all the talk that we have about Frisco, as much as we maybe dislike Frisco, if we're being honest, our true rivals at this point, and I think Luis would even echo this sentiment, our true rivals at this point, the moment Austin FC set foot in MLS, they became the true rivals of every team in Texas. And we hate them, I think, exponentially more than we even despise Frisco. I can't, there's not a bone in my body that can stand Broccoli FC and their fans. Their fans are just unbelievably obnoxious. And we have seen the absolute worst of their fans in the last few weeks in particular. I think their fans just wait for the opportunity that we're gonna play them in order to start talking crap. But they're within striking distance, and it would do a hell of a lot for this season to go here at home after drawing in Frisco or even winning in Frisco, to come home and destroy Austin in our house and make a statement to the league, make a statement to the Western Conference, and just make a statement to all those pundits out there that have Austin up in the top 8 of their power rankings. Austin don't belong anywhere near the top 8 of anybody's power rankings. So I kind of want to move on to Austin for that very reason, Mark.
Yeah. With that being said, Colin, your thoughts on obviously Tree FC coming in next Saturday, the Saturday following the 30th early game, man. You know what? Speaking of that, before we get into the predictions for Austin FC, man, I might have to rock the tank top, a little, little sunscreen on the nose, little straw hat, so I can get a nice little tan out there in PNC. 12:30 start for Austin FC on April 30th, man. What are your thoughts, man? Bring out the beach gear.
12:30. Oh my lord, that is early for a Houston match. That's gonna be bad.
That sun's gonna be out. But with that being said, what are your thoughts, man, as far as going against Tree FC here in PNC?
Austin's a team, again, not to give too much credit to our rivals. They're a team with a decent offense, but a terrible defense. They give up a lot of goals. They score a lot of goals in some cases, but they give up a lot of goals. That's going to be their weakness coming into this game. And that's, sort of where we differ. We have a really good defense and maybe lacking a little more on the offense. But, with their main man being Maxi Arudi, I can't be too scared of them. So, I'm expecting a 3-1 win. 3-1 win for us at home, Broccoli FC. Their defense is going to give up some bad chances, and hopefully we pounce. And if we can finish our chances, easily 3-1.
Colin clearly is on the Sean prediction hype train.
Yeah, you Sean. Hey, 1-1 at Frisco, 3-1 on Austin. I said 2-0. Houston Dynamo win here in PNC. I see the Dynamo getting a clean sheet and shutting out those guys. It's crazy. I think we spoke about it last week, Sean, on the show, how with the Dynamo and Austin being kind of leveled on points, obviously they're at 13 and they have 14 and we're at 12 at the moment. But, they had those first 2 games where they just, 10 goals against Miami and Cincinnati, and all you hear all this, oh my God, Austin is going to come out guns blazing, and they've been kind of descending, while as opposed to the Dynamo, they started off, with a tie here, they lost against SKC at Kansas City because of a fluff play on 5 or whatever, but then, they've been steadily climbing, and we're right there with them, right along with them. So I'd rather be the team that's ascending than the team that's descending. So we'll see. I guess on the 30th, we'll hit that fork in the road and see who's really out here really getting it. So I'm excited. I'm excited for these next 2 weeks of derbies here in Texas to really show what the Dynamo can do, and then to see where everybody's at in the standings after the 30th, and obviously, and the case that it doesn't go the Dynamo way, it's still early in the season. We still have a lot of matches to go, and I think the Dynamo have shown that they are better than what they were last year, and and they're still and they're pretty much, I think they're gonna be fighting for a playoff spot this whole season. But yeah, man, excited. Anything else you want to add, Colin, before we let you go?
Yeah, well, to Sean's point, he brought up a very good point. It's I think most of the rivalry focus is on Austin now, since they came in the league. And I think Dallas fans are the same way. I think our rivalry between Dallas and Dallas' rivalry between us sort of split in half to focus a lot on Austin. And both fan bases can connect on that aspect of just hating Austin. They're so pretentious. They are so it's just, I don't like anything about Austin. Keep it weird. Oh, keep it whatever they say. You know what I'm talking about? They're just so full of themselves, and it shows in their fan base, and it shows in the way they play soccer. I don't know. I definitely have a way stronger disliking of Austin than I do of Dallas, even though they're both in the negatives by far. It's Austin takes the cake for that one. And that's what I have to say.
You know what I think it is, and Sean, you can piggyback off me on this if you agree, or or you can give us your opinion on it. But obviously you had all this hype coming on, with when Austin first launched or whatever, and all this stuff, and obviously with the Dynamo we've been through, and with obviously FC Frisco has been through as well. We've been to the top of the mountain, winning MLS Cups, winning US Open Cup title. We've been to the bottom of the hill, where we've been second to last place of the table. Same thing with Frisco. Frisco have won Supporter Shield. They've won, a couple of U.S. Open Cups. They've had disappointment in MLS playoffs. They've been bottom of the table in the regular season. So we, as fan bases, we've been up and down. We've been to our ups, we've been our downs. And for just Austin just to come in and just think that it's going to be handed to them and they're going to be the top dog in the state, let alone, MLS, it's just lollygagging,
They just need to remember who has 2 stars by their badge. Not Austin, not Dallas, even though they were an original team. Us. Houston, baby. 2 wins. That's us.
Sean?
Yeah.
Any opinion on what we just talked about?
Yeah, I think that's a really good, call out when it comes to Austin, and I think Austin fans, they've got this perception that they're owed, this success. It very reminiscent of, in my opinion, how Atlanta was when they came into the league. Very much we are owed this because we're that fan base. And I think, truth be told, as good as Atlanta was, you look at really when they didn't have when they didn't have the same coach, they weren't the same. Look, Josh Wolf is not that coach. Josh Wolf is not Tata Martino. He's nowhere near Tata Martino's level. And the players that Frisco have are nowhere near the level of players that Atlanta had in that year that they won the cup. So even with that said, Austin aren't owed a damn thing. We're going to go, we're going to be here, come back here, and we're going to take all 3 from Austin. Their fans are going to be whining and complaining. Their players are going to be whining and crying and complaining like they always do, saying that the officiating was terrible, saying that the fans were violent and obnoxious and rude. I guess look in the mirror to your own fans. But at the end of the day, Austin isn't owed a damn thing, and that's what's most important in all of this. And the fact that there is a team that came into this league and was able to bridge and mend some of the wounds between Frisco and Houston says says everything that needs to be said. This team, these fans are so, and I think to Colin's point, pretentious and obnoxious that they've united these 2 fan bases that were at each other's throats for over a decade. And got us to all agree on one thing, and that's Austin sucks.
For sure, man. And just to kind of add to that, I mean, y'all mentioned the way Atlanta came in. That's the way Austin thought they were going to come in. Even though we had a little bit of bad taste with Atlanta, how they came in is how everything started with them. But they backed it up. They had the coach, they had the players, they won the titles, they won the championships, they won whatever tournament they've been in. They backed it up with their play on the pitch, right? Austin, realistically, they failed to do that. They came in with all this hype, this whole promise of, dominating Texas and dominating, MLS, and had nothing to show for the first season, to be honest. And like I said, we're early in the season, and they're up there fighting with us and the LA teams for top spot in the Western Conference. But until they finish a full season and they're actually in the playoffs and actually win something, they're little stepsister right now, a little stepbro, however you want to look at them.
I don't claim any relation to them. They're like my
they're that third
cousin removed. Yeah.
All right, but yeah, Colin, once again, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate that. We appreciate you taking the time to, come and join us, on 420 of all days. Hopefully we'll be smoking some trees here April 30th when they come into town.
You went a direction I wasn't expecting you to go there, Mark. Whoa. Taking that 420 to 420 life to heart, are we?
420 to 430.
They'll be smoking them trees a little late, but hey, it's nevertheless, we'll get it done.
There you go. There you go. Appreciate it, Colin. Sean, anything you want to say to Colin before he goes?
Nah, hey, Colin, thanks for joining as always. We appreciate it. Go ahead and plug your show for us real quick.
Yeah, hey, well, first of all, I appreciate y'all having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on Generation Orange, you know. But you can go ahead and check me out on Twitter on @KeepingTabsPod. And if you go look in my biography on my Twitter account, you can go check out my Spotify. That's where me and my co-host Luke, we upload our podcast to Spotify. Go check us out there. And yeah, guys, I appreciate y'all having me on.
Quick question for you real quick, Colin. I forgot about to ask this. How you liking Anchor so far?
Yeah, well, y'all saved my hide with that one. Like, it is easy. It's literally like you upload it and instantly it's on Spotify. Like, I give all the thanks to y'all on that. I mean, appreciate it. Like, I remember I called you up and you just helped me through the whole thing. Like, it's really not hard at all.
Yep, for sure. If there's anybody watching right now that is intrigued by the idea of Anchor and starting up a Dynamo podcast or Dash podcast or soccer podcast, hit us up on Twitter @GenOrangeRadio. And we'll be happy to help you out and get you squared away, just like we did with Colin.
It's not hard at all.
It is really easy. You can actually do it straight from your phone. You don't even have to do it on a desktop, which is the craziest thing. And it's completely free. I feel like I'm literally doing an ad for the Anchor right now, but I mean, it's the truth. It's crazy simple to do, and there's no reason not to do it. If you have the capability and you know are eloquently enough a speaker, you know, you absolutely should do it. It's worth it. It's totally fun. And you know, what better way to express your passion and your love for the team or, you know, whatever your hobby is than starting up a podcast about it, for sure.
We got to get y'all sponsored by Anchor at this point. I mean,
sponsor soon come, hopefully. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, Colin, again, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, man. We're going to let you go, and we're going to finish closing out the show.
All right. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. And, you know, just to piggyback off of what Sean was saying earlier, man, I mean, you know, for those of you who watch us as viewers or whatever, you know, obviously there's a lot of love between the Dynamo podcasts, you know, whether it be Keeping Tabs with Colin or Houston Dynamo with Finn or, you know, or any of the other guys, you know, obviously there's a lot of Dynamo podcasts out there, which is great to see because there's a lot of love for the club. You know, we're always willing to help. You know, if you go on our Twitter page, you know, our pinned twin, you know, tweet on there, you know, you can reach us at Gen Orange Radio or myself at Chesegovia or Sean Ringrose at Sean Ringrose on Twitter. You know, we'll be happy to answer any kind of questions, or if you have, you know, that might be kind of holding you back from trying to do what you want to do as far as a podcast or whatever. But with that being said, guys, I mean, you know, obviously until Hector Herrera gets up here, 2H's join up, you know, we'll see you Saturday at Frisco.
For those that are going.